Hey everybody, I just want to make another quick little video here on the importance of where the pinky goes. So there's a lot of, I guess, controversy. Well, you don't even want to call it controversy. There's just a lot of thoughts of like how I should actually be swinging the stick. So when I see a lot of guys doing carenza online, I'm seeing them actually breaking structure. And what do I mean by structure is, let's just have some common terminology first, is the pinky should always be leading through the cut. Okay, if you train with any bladed weapons before, you understand the importance of this. The reason why I think it's still super important when you're holding a stick is because of how the hand, or how the forearm in particular, actually moves. So I'm just going to call this supination palm up, pronation palm down. Okay, a lot of us may recognize that as a fanning motion, also known as abanico. So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing people doing their strike, say just a number one strike, and before they're actually finishing cutting through the center line is going to be our target, the head today. So as I'm targeting through that, is they're actually breaking that structure. So now you can see I'm actually going from supination into pronation. And with the stick, you're like, that's not really that big of a deal. I mean, I love Balintwalk, and Grandmaster Tabuada has such jacked forearms and has the strength that he can break that structure, and he can smash the target, and he can do some serious damage with it without ever actually possibly disarming himself. But when I went and trained with some friends and we were cutting dead pigs, right, with machetes, all of a sudden I was breaking that structure and I didn't have the forearm strength to be able to back it up. So what actually ended up happening is my blade actually got stuck in the pig and I disarmed myself. So a little bit of a humbling / embarrassing moment. So ever since then, I make sure to really break down my training. So if I'm leading with my pinky, I'm cutting through with the pinky all the way through the target. And now here, if I need to chamber and strike again, now I'm going back through. So I'm just going to call this abanico, or half abanico, like a flick. Okay, so I'm cutting through, flick, chamber, cut through, flick, chamber, cut through, flick, chamber, cut through, flick, chamber. So if you're doing that motion, yes, you can do it fast, you can get fluent with it. But again, what I tend to see with the stick is it's like we're not really honoring that it could be a blade. So we're seeing like breaking of the structure happening in all these different areas where we're not actually hitting with the blade, pulling back, cutting through, hitting with the blade, pulling back, cutting through. So it's like, well, what's the point of actually training with the stick then? Are you training the stick as a cylindrical weapon, or are you training with the stick because it relates into combat? I tend to train with my stick. I love sticks, but it's not like I'm carrying them everywhere. But I will always have my utility tool or my pocket knife with me. So with that being said, is I'm training everything from my blade. So if I'm slashing, I'm always stabbing when I finish. But if I'm slashing through and I've developed this habit of pronation and comes this way, now when I go to stab, I actually have to supinate again to get my stab back. So it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me of why I'm breaking that, right? If it's not blade work, for sure. If you have the forearm strength to back it up, fantastic. But what I was finding is whenever I was teaching my students, and say they're just doing like a Sinawali drill on the heavy bag, is every now and then they'd have that happen. So compared to actually cutting through the target, hitting and coming back, they were going hit, rebounding back, and bonking them here. Now, if they weren't actually doing that pronated motion, what's actually going to happen is they're going to actually cut through. And even if they're not strong enough, there's no chance of it actually hitting themselves in the head. So, take it as you will, take it with a grain of salt. I don't think that one is right or wrong, but there's a time and place for what it is that you're actually doing. So anyways, my two thoughts, please comment in the section below.